Thor: Love and Thunder is Taika Waititi's second soiree in the Marvel Universe, with Chris Hemsworth returning as our beloved Asgardian hero, this time without his siblings. Lonely and in crisis, Thor's journey takes an unexpected turn when his old flame Jane returns as a fully fledged superhero of her own. Yet, as exciting as this premise sounds, Love and Thunder doesn't get the mix of action, comedy, and drama quite right. But before I get further into it, please consider subscribing and switching on notifications, as it really helps us out. And if you are feeling particularly generous, give us a like as well, as this tells YouTube that this video is worth showing to others. Taika Waititi is a fantastic comedy writer and director, there is no denying that. He's apt at drawing attention to normal human behavior, which grounds his fantastical characters with everyday problems. In Love and Thunder, his focus appears to be the trials and tribulations of middle adulthood, with Thor apparently deep in a midlife crisis. This, however, is far too broad of a topic to cover effectively. It is thinly spread across multiple characters, namely Thor, King Valkyrie, and Korg, who are constantly battling between making fun of themselves and trying to evolve as a character, consequently achieving neither one. In Waititi's previous work, there's a direction in which the comedy is pointed at, whether that be vampire roommates sharing a house in What We Do in the Shadows, or Hitler in JoJo Rabbit, or just general tech moguls in Free Guy. The comedy in Love and Thunder floats around untethered by a cohesive through-line, making it feel like a comedy show made up of various bits. It doesn't help that Thor is kind of dislikable for much of the film. Even though it's meant to be about love and he is definitely lonely, he pushes away the Guardians, who are his family, who so lovingly welcomed him into their family. It seems like a very selfish act. Mostly he's used as an object of desire, which is a fun role reversal from the usual scantily clad female superhero. But unlike said scantily clad female superhero, Thor is still the main character, and his grief and loneliness is belittled by Korg's light-hearted narration, which treats it like a difficult topic trying to be made more digestible for kids to understand. This really doesn't work when we get to Jane, who's experiencing something very human, very scary, and very serious. There's a clear tonal shift between the comedy and drama, and though Jane tries to stay positive and crack a few jokes, there's still a clear disconnect between how the film treats her and Thor's individual struggles. Indeed, Jane felt like she didn't belong in this story, which makes sense considering that her time as Mighty Thor is an entirely different series of comic books. Many reviews I've read were disappointed with the way that this character was treated, and I can definitely draw parallels with the way Wanda was treated in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. In my review, which you can watch by following the link above or in the description below, I mentioned how confused I was by how quickly Doctor Strange abandoned Wanda, and how he didn't try harder to break the Darkhold's grasp on her, knowing fully well how strong that grasp can be. Instead, he decided to side with America and approach the problem indirectly by searching for the Book of Vishanti. Similarly, Jane's problem is quickly categorized as unsolvable by any manner of God's powers, remedies, incantations, etc. The end. Surely Thor would have tried harder to save Jane, the love of his life. But no, instead he focuses on Gore and his villainous god hunting. It felt like he chose to save himself. You might argue that Thor chose to save the children that Gore had stolen, rather than saving Jane, and this is an admirable act. But considering Gore's heartfelt backstory, I never felt that these children were in danger. He was using them as a trap. I think that it wouldn't have aligned with the villain's interests for him to ever harm them. At the end of the film, Thor finds a family by showing mercy to the villain who lost his family at the start of the film. We discover the reason for the hippie-esque title of this film, but the journey to get to that point remains confusing. This is mainly because Thor's apparent desire to have a child is never really hinted at until Jane appears, and even then it felt thrown in, like something that was attempting to remedy that disconnect between what Jane is suffering compared to Thor, between the two completely disconnected stories that were being forced together. I think they could have kept much of the comedy whilst delivering a far more motivated and moving plot. The fantastic scene with Russell Crowe's Zeus could have featured in a story where they're going to find a cure for Jane. The screaming goat chariot would have still been the perfect thing to take them on that journey. The theme of family could have been far better explored if it wasn't constantly interrupted by ultimately forgettable jokes. Gorr is a perfect villain in this respect because his experience of loneliness complements and contrasts that of Thor's. I also enjoyed Gorr's decision-making because it was simultaneously maniacally vengeful and kind of understandable. He gets to see his child, he fulfills his wish, whilst also denying the happiness of one of the gods who he blames for his fate. It's the ultimate power move, though I did feel kind of bad for the kid who's caught up in this feud and who ends up being a type of reward and punishment for the actions of the gods, embodied by Thor. I'm sure much of the audience was hoping for more of Ragnarok's brilliance, but in an attempt to repeat that film's success, Love and Thunder has ended up quite underwhelming. Interestingly, Ragnarok has many of the same themes as Love and Thunder, especially that of family, but it was presented in a far more fluid way alongside the kicking butt and taking names. What's not to love about an epic sibling feud triggered by unimaginable childhood trauma? I certainly would not enjoy being the firstborn child who then shows a penchant for warmongering and is quickly locked away for as long as possible. Hela definitely gives me #1 from Stranger Things vibes. Overall, Thor Love and Thunder throws everything at the wall, hoping some of it will stick. It's a Pinterest board of ideas that isn't very well connected, creating a visually spectacular film that lacks that key emotional anchor, making it a not-so-memorable addition to the MCU. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and switch on notifications so you don't miss future videos, and comment below with your thoughts on the film. Do you agree or disagree with what I've said? I would love to discuss. For more film content, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Letterboxd and TikTok, links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.